Hello everyone and welcome back for another preview of upcoming Fallout 76 content from the PTS, the public test server. Today, we're going to be looking at some changes that are coming as part of the One Wasteland combat balance overhaul. Before we get into it, even though we're not really discussing anything beyond how things work and level scaling and things like that, technically this is unreleased content and you might consider it spoilery. So if you just want to be totally surprised, now's your chance to back out. I don't think you really need to worry. As I said, we're just looking at some basic player experience stuff with this, but that's up to you. Quick update on the channel. We did just pass our first 500 subscribers, so thank you to everyone who's subscribed. It really feels good to see that people are liking what I'm putting out. It really means a lot. If you're not subscribed yet, go for it. I upload new Fallout 76 content every week on the channel, and now we're chasing our first 1,000 subscribers. So any help you can give me getting there, I will really appreciate. Okay, shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's get into today's video. So what is One Wasteland? One Wasteland is a new combat balance system that's coming to Fallout 76, supposedly for patch 22, but we'll see. It's designed to solve three main problems. Number one, since release, there has been a huge difficulty spike for low-level players when they're questing and entering an area a high-level player has been in. For example, they might head to top of the world at level 12 and encounter level 68 Scorched. Not really a good time. Problem number two. If an existing higher level player wants to play with a friend who is new to the game, that's kind of difficult right now. The friend isn't ready for the areas that are fun for the high level player, and the high level player just annihilates everything in the areas that are comfortable for their friend. This new update is designed to allow all players to see enemies at their own level while dealing and taking damage accordingly so more people can play together. Third problem it's trying to solve. For high-level players, after a certain point, you don't really have anything to gain by spending time in low-level areas like the forest, the Toxic Valley, or the Ash Heap, and you don't have anything to gain by doing events that are located in those areas. All the enemies and their loot are under-leveled. This is also true for a lot of events outside of low-level areas. Who doesn't love picking up 3 under-leveled legendaries from Uranium Fever? This fixes that problem. All your drops will be maximum level. So, all that sounds great, right? But it's still a little confusing, so I want to show you what it looks like in action. Bear in mind, this is still in the testing phase. While much of it seems to be working as planned, some of it definitely still has a ways to go. I'm going to try not to jump to any conclusions, and I'd encourage you to do the same. My main intention here is just to show people the basics of what's coming. We should all understand that it's a work in progress, bugs will get fixed, and things will likely change. First, let's take a look at what the experience is like in One Wasteland for a brand new player coming out of the vault at level 2. The first thing we'll see are some liberators, not much different from what we're used to if we've played this before. But now they're level 2 instead of level 1. They match our level. With the level 1 machete we got by passing a speech check with the NPCs outside the vault, we can handle them just fine. 2 hits takes them down, pretty much as expected. If we travel down the hill a bit, we'll see some ticks and some new settlers. The ticks, again, are level 2, and we can handle them easily. Exactly what we'd expect for the opening area. The settlers aren't automatically hostile, and they're also level 2. If we decide to, I don't know, make them hostile, they're still pretty easy to handle, but they pack a bit more of a punch than the ticks and the liberators. Moving down the road toward the Wayward, you'll likely discover Wixen Homestead. This place is usually occupied by some low-level Scorched. Today, we can see that there's a player camp located right outside, and that player is level 88. For them, the Scorched we're about to find should appear as level 50. That's the max level in the forest, more on that later. But to me, they're going to be level 2. I can find them and I can take them down just fine. I have no way to confirm or deny what that other player is seeing here, but you'll see later what I see in the forest with a high level, so you'll get the point. A bit later, after completing some of the basic overseer tasks and discovering the Wayward, I hit level 3. Upon going inside for the first time, we encountered the altercation between Duchess and Batter, one of the Free Radicals raiders that's been harassing her bar. Even though I hit level 3 literally as I entered the place, the game is already recognizing that and has made him level 3. I can choose to fight and take him down, again, pretty easily.
Like hell you are, bucko.
I told you it was gonna end badly.
Traveling toward Flatwoods, we usually encounter some other enemies. Here's a Mr. Farmhand, also level 3. Not a particularly tough takedown. Then we find some mongrels, again, level 3, just like us. So we can see that in low-level areas, the system seems to be working pretty well. The enemies are scaling with us in real time as we level, posing a consistently increasing challenge rather than one that comes in spikes. Those small increases will also result in gradual XP gains, as higher-level enemies grant more XP than their lower-level counterparts. This is a good thing for new players, as really, nobody's really ready to venture out of the forest until level 10 or higher, so this way you can keep gaining XP and leveling up in proportion to your level, instead of being stuck killing level 1 to 5 enemies the whole time. Now we can see where things start to get a little more complicated. Let's take a trip to Pleasant Valley Ski Resort in the Savage Divide. Here, we can see that I'm finding level 5 and 10 Scorched. They're higher level than me, but not by much. It's a challenge that I can take on if I want to. If I were actually a new player, I'd likely be much closer to this level by the time I got here, if not beyond it, so this feels pretty comfortable. This is an area that's long been a thorn in the side of new players. They get sent here early to meet Rose, the most obnoxious NPC in the history of Fallout, and more often than not, get hit with Scorched that are many levels above them. When I first started playing, back when the game was first released, I was maybe level 9 or 10 and found level 68 Scorched here because high-level players had already passed through. Obviously, that was a brick wall. On live servers now, the enemy levels are capped a bit lower, but it can still be really inconsistent, so this looks like a big improvement, solving that huge difficulty spike that lower-level players often experienced and complained about. Now, just because I'm curious, we're going to head to the Cranberry Bog, where no level 3 player has any business going. And the first thing I see is a level 5 Super Mutant. Okay, cool. I can handle that. No problem there. Take him down with a little sneak critical. And a level 20 Bloodthirsty Floater Flamer. This is not good. This is very, very bad. So, just as before, a level 3 player probably still has no business going to the Cranberry Bog. So even though things level with you, it's not quite a go anywhere you feel like going anytime kind of system. There's still danger to be had. You're still going to find things that are too tough for you that you need to run away from. In this case, I let this guy's turrets do a little bit of work for me, and we managed to survive, but overall, probably not something I'd recommend doing on your own level 3 character. Doing a little more exploring here, we have a bunker just to the north of where we were there, and outside we find a level 30 Colonel Gutsy. So again, not max level enemies like we would normally expect to see in the Cranberry Bog, but definitely higher than any level 3 is comfortable fighting. So you still have reasons to stay out of here. You still have reasons to gradually level up and move across the map. And that's a good thing. As we creep around the side here, making our way away from the other one, just take a look and see what else is here while we're down here. Another level 30 Gutsy, and running is smart. Running is good. Running is good for our health here. Make our way out as quickly as we can. Looks like we have the old mold quarry here. We'll see what's down here, and we have more floaters. Are these any friendlier to us? That one's only level 15. That's not that scary. And that one's level 30. That's much scarier. Much scarier. Run, 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 run away. Run away out of the cranberry bog, never to return on a level 3 character, because it is a very, very dumb idea, even in One Wasteland. Okay, one last little experiment here, seeing as the opportunity presented itself. I had someone join my public team, and they were over at West Tech, so I figured I'd go check out what that looked like with a high-level player in the area. It didn't turn out well. While I found a turret that said it was level 5, it managed to kill me quite efficiently, and the other enemies were still much higher level than me at level 30 through 60. I noticed similar situations at other super mutant hotspots in the Savage Divide as well. I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. While I imagine that there is some sort of floor for enemy levels, I doubt that it's level 30 to 60, at least not in the Savage Divide, where you get sent for some of those early quests for Rose. I expect things like this to be ironed out as testing continues. Now let's take a look at things with a more mid-level character. My grumpy old man with a walking cane, Old Man McRib, who's level 68. Starting at Vault 76, we can see the same liberators we saw on our low-level character, but now they're level 50. It looks like a couple of hits with the walking cane takes them out just fine, but in fact it might just be one hit. I saw some weird damage performance here where I'd hit the enemy, draining most of its health, and then suddenly the rest would just drop off. I don't know if this is lag in the scaling system or the bleeding damage from the mod on my weapon. Either way, nothing too challenging. Next, we'll hit up a low-level event in the forest, Leader of the Pack. This is usually a good one to do for low levels because they can grab some quick legendary items. Now it's a good one for everyone. The creatures here are all level 50 now, and the items they drop will drop at their max level 2, so events like this one are now a lot more useful for higher level players. You'll notice how I'm starting to struggle to deal damage here a bit more, but nothing too crazy just yet. Heading into Campfire Tales, we can see the challenge created by this new level scaling system. Sure, it's great that all the enemies are now level 50 for high-level players, but that also means that the giant mobs of insects at events like this are now much more challenging. Low-level players won't notice that much of a difference, but high-level players won't be able to just wipe out everything in sight anymore. This led to quite a bit of chaos at this event, and we weren't even able to complete it. I think that in time, players will get a handle on things, but initially, it's gonna be a challenge. Next, let's take a look at Grafton Dam, home to many super mutants and the Manhunt event. In the live game, these are all low-level super mutants, but here, they're level 50. In the Forest, Toxic Valley, and Ash Heap, the maximum enemy level you'll see is level 50. It's clear that Bethesda still wants there to be some areas where you can relax at least a little bit, but it's still a great change that we can come here and see enemies that drop max level loot. Unfortunately for my character, he's terrible. I've given him no mutations, no legendaries, and no armor. It's just him, his bathrobe, a walking cane, and a pump-action shotgun. I've been able to get by in the live game with him by relying on stealth and power attacks, but the way damage is scaling now has put quite a bit of hurt on his melee damage output. This makes it basically impossible to get ninja kills, so he's gonna get murdered a lot. This gives us a chance to talk about my least favorite subject in the world of Fallout 76 right now, the great impending nerf. What we're seeing is a change to the way damage buffs are calculated that's supposed to release alongside One Wasteland. It's effectively reduced damage output for all players, but affects those using high-powered builds the most. In my experience with it, most players aren't going to notice much of a practical difference, which you'll see in more detail once we jump to my high-level character. The vast majority of activities will still be pretty easy with an optimized build. The challenge I'm seeing is with builds like Old Man McRib here. I didn't have a crazy build on this character. No magical legendary weapons to dominate the wasteland, nothing. Just perks and strength. And the way those are all stacking together now dramatically reduces his damage output. I expect to have a major challenge while playing him, but as we can see here at West I've hit a brick wall. Short of brute forcing my way in here and dying dozens and dozens of times, there's no way I could progress through this. It's going to be a problem they need to resolve, or a lot of level 50 through 80 melee players are going to have real issues. Those players don't have all the legendary effects. They may not have all the mutations. They may not have all the perks set just right yet. So what we could see there, if it's not done right, is a shift in that difficulty spike from low-level players to level 50 through 80 players. And I hope they do something to resolve that. I think they will. With all of that said, as you can see, my enemies here at West are appropriately leveled to my level 68 character. Nothing over my level, nothing dramatically lower either. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the developers address some of the damage issues I just outlined before this goes live. They've acknowledged some of them already and have said that changes are coming. So I'm not freaking out just yet, and neither should you. Remember, this is all still in testing. We shouldn't treat any of it as though it's permanent or as though it is 100% concrete fact, because we simply don't know how far all of this is going to go in the end. Now let's finally take a look at my high-level character. This is my main character on PC, a bloodied stealth commando. Overall, it's a pretty well-optimized build, and you'll see that I'm able to handle everything One Wasteland throws at me without a whole lot of trouble. I've got all the commando cards maxed out, tenderizer, bloody mess, all the stealth buffs and multipliers, and so on. I'm also using some of the new legendary perks to help me out a bit. We'll take a closer look at those in a future video once they're closer to their final form. Right now, there's still a little work to be done there, but they've made a lot of progress. The first location we'll visit with this character is Nira, the National Isolated Radio Array, just up the road from West I would have preferred to show you a run through there, but I just couldn't get footage. Every time I went to the location, it was already cleared out, and there's only so much time in the day. It's a popular spot, and there aren't that many test servers running, so it's not that surprising. For our purposes here, Nira should do just fine as a substitute. What I'm seeing are a lot of level 60 super mutants and hounds, with a couple of level 100 boss types here and there. In more dense populations like inside West I've been seeing a range of 60, 75, and level 100. I'm guessing that because there's only a few mutants here, I just didn't happen to get any 75s on this particular visit. As you can see, I'm handling them just fine with my build, though it does seem like damage is maybe a bit inconsistent. I'm wondering again if there are some lag issues with scaling, or maybe if I'm even seeing visual errors. Maybe those level 60 super mutants aren't really level 60, but should be 75, hence the different amounts of damage taken. Still, 2 bullets per super mutant isn't a change I'm going to cry about. Honestly, I'm shooting really slow here, just so you can see how many bullets things are taking. Normally, I'd just be double tapping all these guys and wouldn't feel a lick of difference or notice any damage inconsistencies in the first place. Next, let's go to one of the most popular farming spots in the game, the White Spring Golf Club, and see what it looks like for this character. Here again, I'm seeing level 60 and 75 enemies, in this case all going down with a single headshot. No problem at all. I'm sure there's a level 100 or 2 hiding out here somewhere as well. Now we'll take a trip to Solomon's Pond to see how we do against a scaled up super mutant behemoth, but first, let's stop by a Blood Eagle camp and see how we do against human NPCs. Again, level 60 and 75 enemies. They're going down easily in 1 or 2 headshots. I feel like that's actually maybe a bit tanky for them, but honestly, if I were playing at normal speed, it wouldn't really make a difference. Heading over to the pond, we'll find a level 100 super mutant behemoth, and this is where we start to feel a little bit of the damage change. What it does is basically take the top off of super powerful builds like this one. Against normal enemies, we don't really see much difference. Against the really tanky stuff, we'll start to see things take a little longer to kill. Not much longer in this case, but you can see how it'll all start to fall into place. As we find tankier and tougher enemies, we'll find that they're significantly harder to kill. We can probably say goodbye to the 30-second solo Scorch Beast Queen runs, but even if our time to kill is tripled, what's that become, a minute and a half? As of now, I'm really not worried about how this affects my high damage build. It's going to do just fine. I just hope they address some of the other issues like we saw earlier before this goes live. Let's take a look at one more event and how it's changed with One Wasteland. Uranium Fever. I think this change is going to be the thing that gets players the most excited about this update when it finally comes. No more level 40 mole miners at Uranium Fever if you're a high level player. That means a bit more challenge, but not much as you can see. And more importantly, they'll all drop max level items. This is going to make Uranium Fever a must-play event every time it pops with its guaranteed 3 legendary enemies. One other upside to the damage change is for events like this. If players are doing a little less damage with fewer default one-shot kills, maybe we'll have fewer people taking out the legendaries at this event before anyone else gets a chance to hit it. One other little update of note that just came out as I'm editing this video, it does look like the Mole Miner Treasure Hunter event is going to eventually return to the game. It's going to be in testing on the PTS now, and they also mentioned that, just like this, the mole miners in that event are going to scale up with One Wasteland. So again, you'll be able to go get them wherever they are and get max level loot from them, because that's one of the core benefits of One Wasteland. No more going out hunting for under-leveled stuff that you can't even use. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our first look at One Wasteland. I hope it gives you a solid understanding of how things will work once it comes to the game, but I'll also remind you that this is all happening in a testing environment. Things can and will change, so don't worry too much about some of the scarier sounding changes, and don't do anything drastic based on what you've seen here. While a lot of it works, a lot of it, well, doesn't. It's gonna see more iteration, more polish, and more changes before it goes live. As always, if you enjoyed this, if you found it useful, or anything in between, I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe. There's always more Fallout 76 content coming. Till next time, I'm Fisty McRib.